Welcome back. So a lot has been happening lately, especially as it concerns security in the country. We have two governors shouting. It's just that one is shouting more than the other. Borno state government stated that 3 local government areas are actually under the control of Boko Haram. Only recently we heard the Plateau State Governor, Gabriel Mufwang rather, practically crying and saying that he has failed his people after some marauding unknown gunmen. I really don't know why we're calling them unknown gunmen. Some criminals ransacked the village and even killed people, scores of people. And we're also seeing the developments also in Benue State. But the president, yes, statements have been released, but he's away in France with so many persons saying that he should return back in order to face the brewing crisis that we're actually having in our own hands. We have with us to talk about the current security situation and the current state of the nation, Emeka Odom. He's a journalist, a development communication expert, and a public affairs analyst. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here once again.
All right. I don't know. It's really stunning about what we're faced today with the increasing number of persons whom we see pass on. The statement released by the presidency, reminiscent of what had happened under Buhari, is just like maybe a circle that we're going on and on and on. Do you see any difference in the way and manner this particular government is handling the security situation in the country?
Well, thank you so much. If you look at the way things are going in this country, and sometimes, you don't have any choice but to reminiscence on the saying that, you see, when you do the same thing over and over and over and again and expect a different result, your guess is as good as mine who you are. So that seems to be our lot in this country, very regrettably, because if you look at in the last 10 years or even more than that this insecurity has festered, so you begin to wonder, is it that those in charge of the security of this country, or including Mr. President, whoever is Mr. President himself at any point in time, is it that they probably can't think outside the box? Because the entire situation looks the same, from insurgency to banditry, from banditry, kidnapping, from kidnapping for ransom, and all kinds of things, religious crisis, farmer header crisis. So this seems to be a revolving circle, and what baffles me most is how come all of these things have defied, any known solution. Now the puzzle is this: if you look at some of those places where these things are happening, if you recall that during the period of President Muhammadu Buhari, Kaduna State seemed to be the epicenter at that time, and so
Southern
Kaduna particularly. But if you look at the entire state, as a subunit of the federation, the question to ask is, in most places, when insecurity festers to a certain extent, one of the immediate ideas or solutions that may occur to you is, look, let's have more presence of security men in this area. Perhaps it will deter criminals from coming. And in fact, that is the philosophy behind show of force that we see the security forces do each time there's crisis. They parade along the streets to deter those who have criminal intentions. But how do you explain a situation where in a state where you could say that is one of the few states that are blessed with high concentration of military establishments, not just military, security generally, so and for this kind of thing to be happening? So that is the puzzle. Now, if you leave that behind, as was the case, during the Muhammadu Buhari administration, you now come here, look at what is happening in Jos. Jos is not one of those states you could say. Plateau State is not one of those states you can say, let's try and create more military presence. We have the 3rd Division of Nigerian Army, situated in that town called Jos. And if for people who have an idea, in those days, there's a town in Plateau State called Langtan. Langtan is reputed to have, to be blessed with a lot of military people serving and retired. In fact, most of Nigerians high-profile generals, we could say, they will always say, if you are from North, say, are you from Langtan? And so now, how come that a state that is so blessed, you know, unlike other states, you could say, okay, let's go and establish a military presence or put more security presence in that place. So how come a state like this is bedeviled with this kind of crisis? So I think it's time for, you know, those who are managing the country to begin to think of other ways. Perhaps, why, as much as we try to build up capacity in the kinetic approach, I mean, in terms of having more personnel, shocking them up with high-tech intelligence gathering, training of manpower, welfare, and many other things that are needed to build high capacity, you know, within our security and intelligence agencies. But also begin to think of alternative ways to complement that. You know why I tell you this is because even a lot of times we've heard some military chiefs themselves, some security chiefs tell you that, look, to fight, you know, to fight the kind of crime that, you know, we are fighting in this country, you need, sometimes you need non-kinetic approach. You know, there are other ways to, you can also use to make people drop their arms. That is number one. Number two, if you look at nations today, nations of the world that have capacity in everywhere, economic capacity, military capacity, scientific capacity, technological capacity, human resources capacity, they spend a lot of money to build up arms. Yet, they also spend money in diplomacy. What does that tell you? That, look, it's a simple lesson. As much as we have capacity in our military, you know, ability, we don't want to use it, except when it becomes absolutely necessary. So they put a lot of effort in diplomacy. And so it is high time those who are managing this country should begin to think of alternative ways. And for me, if I'm in a position to suggest, I think this country should invest in peace building. Though it seems to be that peace is such a very expensive commodity in this country that we really need to go after by all means, putting everything we have to get peace. Perhaps much more than we have now. We may think that, oh yes, of course there's peace, because you wake up in the morning, you go where you want to go to, you know, you go to the market, do your business and come. But that is not the case with every part of this country. And even where it seems that is possible, you do it every 2 seconds, you look your back. You go to sleep, before you go to sleep, you make sure that there's a whole lot things you put in place to enable you at least sleep for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. Now, I think we should do more than that. And if you don't have the money to provide, there are people today, they can't go anywhere. There are people that can't travel. Yeah. I know one big man that he doesn't like to fly. So he prefers traveling by road. Now, for him to travel by road, because of the security arrangements he has to make and everything, it costs him like 4 or 5 times, you know, air tickets. And so because of that, he minimizes his traveling. And sometimes it impacts on his reputation, and people say, like, oh, you haven't bothered inviting me, he won't come. But you don't know what he's going through. So see, what I'm saying here is that we need to invest a little bit more in peace building. Because if you look at most of the challenges that we have, I'm not a security expert, but we also, you know, we follow trends on public domain. And you find out that a lot of them revolve around hate, discontentment, dissatisfaction, and all kinds of primordial, you know, things that people have stored. People don't find it comfortable living with those they consider strangers. People don't want to coexist. Whether it's in the same country, whether it's in the same state, whether it's in the same community, whether it's doing the same business, people just don't want to coexist. And unfortunately, I don't want to, well, unfortunately for them, but for me, fortunately, the country, God has blessed the country. Nigeria is a pluralistic country. There's nothing anybody can do about it. That is the way God has fashioned this country. Even if you decide to balkanize this country now into 10 places, I doubt if you can have any part that will have a singular approach in terms of cultural, religious, and social dimensions. So plurality is just the way it is. So we should explore, everybody should see it as a strength, as an advantage.
Right. But again, a whole lot of persons have said that if the president can be very fast in checking what's happening in River State, why is he not as fast as he checked what's happening in River State with what's going on in the Plateau, Benue, and Borno? I mean, if we're talking about speed, we haven't recorded any deaths as a result of the political quagmire in River State. But for crying out loud, we're recording hundreds. How come we're not seeing that same speed?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. You see, these are questions that people may consider to be a puzzle, but to a lot of us who are following events, who are students of the society, the Nigerian polity, that probably won't be a puzzle because the answers are not far-fetched. You see, remember that we are playing. See, what are we doing? There's politics in the land. We can't write it off. The president himself is a politician. He understands that very clearly. And look, this is governance mixed with politics. You know very well that elections are coming, right? And the president, well, even though he hasn't said so, but your guess is as good as mine. And anybody will tell you that, well, obviously, of course, those who are working with him are already making case for a second tenure. And he has to secure that. River State, nobody can come and say River State is not crucial in the scheme of things. So there's politics in one angle. Like I always tell people, let me tell you, at the center of this whole controversy is the governor himself, the suspended governor, Simila Efubara, and the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. Now, Nyesom Wike is not contesting as governor in 2027. I'm not quite sure if he's contesting election. He hasn't said so in 2027 as president. So why is he very particular about structure? Because you hear him say every time about structure, they want to take away money. So why is he particular about structure? That's the question to ask. Why does he so much need the structure? He has done his bit as governor. So he needs the structure because he has to deliver that state to somebody else who is a political acolyte.
So what has that got to do with having the president to be speedy?
That is the reason why. That is the reason why politics will color a lot of things. Remember that those who are faulting the president in his declaration of state of emergency have also said that, look, that there's a hidden interest. And what is that hidden interest? 2, 1, the president wants, you know, he may not be in the forefront, but he has somebody who is in the forefront, and they want to make sure that they continue to lay hold on the structure. And so if laying hold on the structure is not pulling through, because similarly Fubara is there, so whatever opportunity that exists, any slightest opportunity that exists, could do. That is on one angle. That's my thinking.
But why does it even think that the people, where is the place of the people in all of this? What are the
you know,
people
because the Nigerian politicians have really not, you know, not really reckoned with the power of the people, irrespective of what they tell you.
I mean,
if they reckon with the power of the people, there are a lot of things that politicians will not do in Nigeria. Look, if you are supporting a governor now, a president or a senator, and for any reason you become angry and walk away, the man not care whether you are with him or not. But if he were to reckon with the vote of the people, that's one vote that is going to lose in you will mean a lot to him. So that is the issue. Then, of course, there's also the latent reason, which the president was quick to tell us, oh, we don't want anything to happen in River State because, of course, you know, the wealth of the nation is directly involved in this, so we don't want anything to threaten it. So that is there. But again, also, the president, those who are defenders of the president will also be quick to tell you, well, the River State crisis, the Plateau State crisis has been a recurrent decimal It has always been there, and so it's not one that the president, even though he's trying to see how he can solve it, but
Has one for Rivers been there?
no, I'm trying to compare now. They will tell you that the one of Rivers State is something that is incidental. Is incidental, but the one in Plateau State has been a recurrent decimal.
Oh, really? The one
so,
in Benue is also a recurring.
Well,
the one in Borno,
no,
the governor himself.
No, but
said three.
No, but give it to them. The truth is that these problems they preceded his President Bola Tinubu's tenure.
The one in Rivers precede him?
No, that's what I'm saying. That the one in Rivers State is incidental. So you could easily say, look, just quickly nip this one in the bud so it doesn't escalate. But these ones that have already escalated for a very long time, they are running. So it's a question of come do your bit, see what you can do.
I mean, it's really curious, frankly speaking, how we would continue playing politics with people's lives. I was thinking that in order for him to really feel like the president, the commander-in-chief, he would have just announced a state of emergency, even if not the style he did in Rivers, announcing those local governments, deploy military there.
Yeah, okay. The style that Goodluck Jonathan deployed towards the end of his administration. Yes, that's also a possibility. That's also a possibility. And remember, I told you. See, the truth of the matter is that when you deal with politicians, we don't expect utmost honesty and sincerity. For me, that's my expectation. That's my mindset. Is it because we lived in this country where politicians disappointed us, and they keep doing that. You and I were here when the state of emergency was declared, and everybody felt, oh, the National Assembly, given the circumstances on ground, look at what the rule says. The National Assembly came with a different interpretation entirely in handling that issue, and a lot of Nigerians were disappointed going by what was in the public domain. So for me, I'm not surprised. Now, these local government, in fact, even if not to declare state of emergency, to be physically present, visit these places, show presence, establish a connection between you and the people, because that is what leadership is all about. When there's crisis anywhere, whether it is natural or man-made crisis, the president shows up there. Comfort is very comforting to the people, just beyond the governor, because the governor is not the highest ruler in the land. But again, also the question is, why is the president not there? A lot of leaders elsewhere will cut short their whatever thing they're doing, there. But the question is the president, why is he not there? What he's doing? Is he in a place to cut it short, or is he beyond? Is it something he can do? Is it something he cannot do? Again, that takes us to the question of honesty and transparency in leadership. We were told that the president was going on a working visit. It's over 1 week now. I don't know. It's over 1 week now. So that kind of working visit that the president is doing, if the president of America, the prime minister of Britain, the president of France, most other presidents all over the world, if they're going on any official visit, in fact, the activities outside will be almost, followed up by people at home. Apart from the one picture that they released where the president was it with the president of which country?
Macron.
Was that? Macron. So that's the only picture we've seen. So when you say a walking visit, now if the president is doing other things that are probably not supposed to be, it would have been very simple to say, oh, the president is going on. So there's nothing. If the president, like somebody I read somewhere today, so the president needed to see his doctor. Someone was insinuating that. And so what's wrong in that?
Telling the people the truth. People.
I remember when Babangida, who was even a military ruler, when he went to France for an operation on radiculopathy on his leg, the Nigerians were carried along on a daily basis. So you see, that also defines that aspect of leadership that we have here. Openness, transparency, honesty. And a lot of times when our leaders, when their spokespersons say something and Nigerians don't believe it, looks as if Nigerians are very cynical. But these are the kind of things that, contribute to all of them.
Do you think a state of emergency should be declared in Rivers? Not Rivers now, in Plateau and Borno State?
You see, when you say state of emergency, I want to be very careful in the use of that word, you see, because there have been all kinds of interpretations. We have seen different kinds of state of emergency here, arising from the same portion in the Constitution that gives the president's power to do it. Now, number one, Obasanjo declared a state of emergency first in Plateau State, if you recall, where the governor that year was removed from office temporarily on account of this same communal crisis, or whatever, whether it is religious, communal, or whatever, sectoral, whatever it is. That happened then. And I remember General Chris Ale then was deployed, as the sole administrator, to bring normalcy to that state. There was also another state where President Obasanjo also declared a state of emergency or so. Now, arising from powers drawn from that same portion of the constitution. Now, fast forward to 2013 or 2014, President Goodluck Jonathan declared state of emergency in 3 states, in some local government areas in 3 states. From the same portion of the constitution, the governors were not removed from office. The governors were still there, but in some of those local government areas, it was said to be chaotic at that time. State of emergency was deployed, and military was deployed, and a lot of things before there were elections could hold in those places. Now, also fast forward to 2025 in Rivers State, where we have not, as of the time the emergency was declared, we hadn't seen even a single killing. And state of emergency was declared. The governor removed, the democratic institutions suspended. Drawn from that same. So at the end of the day, and all of these presidents, they had attorney generals who were advising them, who were senior advocates. They had a team of lawyers who were advising them, who were senior advocates, even in their various cabinets. And you also have another group of lawyers, either as independent lawyers or who criticized those actions. Some others went to court. So at the end of the day, where are we heading to? Now, advising that a state of emergency be declared, on what, and all of them were drawing their powers and their defense or their authority from the same portion of the constitution.
But they said that when there's threats to the nation, when there are deaths, I mean, it's clear. If Rivers, it's contested, but it's in Plateau, it is clear. Are people not dying? In Benue, are people not dying?
That's what I'm saying.
In Borno, are people not dying? So if state of emergency is declared, even if it's a portion of the state, not the governor remains, but the portion of the state, or maybe the local government where this is happening, and at the fringes where what is happening, and in those places, wouldn't it be a good idea to stop the issue?
Of course, these are the puzzles. But even at that, the question to ask is, do we really need a state of emergency to deal with a particular situation in a particular area?
So you don't think we need a state of emergency?
There are things we don't really need a state of emergency. The military could just do their normal job. What is even the ratio of this particular place compared to the entire country? That the security agencies can in fact deploy everything, both peace building, security operations, and all that is required to be able to contain that situation without necessarily declaring a state of emergency. So that we don't end up cheapening the word state of emergency, because state of emergency is actually a very expensive word that can only be it connotes a level of alertness, security consciousness, and it connotes a lot of things. So and that is why you don't see that word used anyhow. It's just like these days where our leaders and our various legislative houses use the word vote of confidence anyhow. For a legislative house, or any cabinet to pass to say we are going into a vote of confidence, a lot of things must happen that now questions the integrity and the capacity of whoever they are going to pass that vote of confidence on. It's like conducting referendum on anything.
Right. Do you think that the communities should be armed? I mean, a lot of persons have spoken largely about state policing, community policing, but we say it on one hand and then we forget about it. And when we remember, we say, oh, let's do state police. I think it's even this IG, when it was mounted a few months back, that said that they don't need anything about state policing, that it would cause more problem for them. Do you think that the communities, through vigilantes, should be armed for something like this? Because I really don't understand how a community will sit back and watch their community overrun by armed bandits without doing anything.
Now, let me tell you. Number one, if you put that argument out there, should we have a community, a state police or not? The current status quo, to me, to my estimation, the current status quo will never support that idea.
The current status quo?
Yes.
Why?
The reason is very obvious. We are a federating unit, right? Now, if you have, there's nothing, first and foremost, for me, there's nothing wrong in having a state police. These are part of federal system of government. Where you have a federal police, a state police, you could even have a regional, a local government police system. We've had it before in this country. Now, when you have such structure in place, the states will have their own police. And when states have their police, the powers and the influence of the federal police is going to be reduced.
Not necessarily.
No. It will.
Not necessarily.
I'm coming. I will explain to you.
FBI's,
No. See, things will be streamlined.
Of course.
Things that the federal police will handle will be clear cut. Things that state police will handle will be clear cut. What does that tell you? But right now, everything, as in everything, is handled by the federal police. So when you now, if there are 100% of powers or things to do, and you are the one in charge, doing all of them, and eventually a system changes where things are not shared, even if they end up 50-50, your powers have been eroded. It's as simple as that.
But it gets us to the point where
I'm
the
coming. I will get to that point.
Stays with the governor. I will to do what he needs to do to take care of the situation.
I know. I will get to that point. I'm only trying to tell you. Ask me a question. I said the status quo, the current status quo, will not support state police. That's what I told you, and you said why. I'm trying to explain to you why that will not happen.
Okay.
So don't hold it against any authority, any officer.
So the IG of police, you are saying that maybe the IG of police made that statement because he feels that it's
no, it's not about him. It's about a system. It's not about him. It's about a system.
So aren't you supposed to be working for a system that works?
But again, also, it's not as if the moment to bring state police, all our problems are solved. That's what I want. I want to rot you to that point. Let the point very clear. As much as state police is desirable, because we run a federal system of government, there's nothing wrong in having a state police. If we can have state judiciary, if we can have if we can have a concurrent, list of powers where the state government has their own, the federal government have their own. So why not in area of security management? There's nothing wrong in that. It will help to bring policing closer to the communities. There's no doubt about that. But the question is, if we bring state police today, is it going to be boom? All of these problems are solved? I don't think so. Why? Because there are fundamentals that we need to deal with. If you don't deal with those things, you know what you're doing? You're only taking drugs or taking medication for symptom. The major issue that is propelling those symptoms, you are here to deal with them. In this country called Nigeria, I started by telling you that there's an expensive commodity that the government must invest in over time. It's not a 1 year thing. It's not a 2 year. It's not a 3 year thing. Put structure in place, because peace. Any country that is, look, do you know what led to the pogrom in Rwanda some 10-15 years back, or more than that? You know what led to that? Is hate.
Is Rwandan genocide?
Yes, hate. Lack of tolerance and appreciation of the other person as an equal stakeholder. You see, this country, we must begin to, push the narrative and push and promote the narrative that, look, we are all Nigerians who have an equal stake in this country, and God has brought us together. We must live together as one people,
right,
one nation. That narrative will take a long time to begin to seek. Look, if you look at very well now, there's a narrative that is out there. No be Nigeria. This is Nigeria. Whatever thing that is behind that concept, this is Nigeria. These are the people tell you, and people never make that statement on the positive dimension. They always make it when people are disappointed. They say, why are you disappointed? This one no be Nigeria you take. You know, that kind of a thing. So these are the narratives that must be replaced with positive ones. By one, in this country is a multi-ethnic society, is a multi-religious society, is a multicultural society. We must appreciate that. We must live by that. We must understand that that is the makeup of this country. If you wake up in the morning and your neighbor is an Egala man, appreciate him, relate well with him, live well with him. If you travel from here to Abuja and you find out that the person that you are going to work with is a Fulani man, appreciate him, live well with him, make friends with him, let him be your brother. I many years back, let me tell you, many years back, when I was serious, I had the privilege of working in Cadre. We are talking of during the 80s. During the 80s, when Cadre was celebrating, I think it was 25 years anniversary or so, prior to that. Then, Chief Gabriel Onosode of blessed memory was the chairman of the board of Cadre that time. He came in one of the occasions, he was addressing the staff. He made a statement, which talked to me. He said, look, you must romance the people you sleep with to be able to have a sweet and sound sleep. In other words, now the word romance there connotes relationship.
Right. So
that you be happy. You have see, because the reason why people don't sleep well at night.
Apparently, we would need to talk more about this issue, but because of time, we would have to leave it here. Maybe on another day, you're going to come to talk about this extensively, especially as it relates to security, because I mean, it's just so bewildering that every single day you wake up, you hear of 10 dead, 15 dead, 30 dead. It looks like we're killing animals.
These are products of hate. These are products of hate. For you to kill another person willfully, these are products of, it's a premeditated attempt. It's a product of hate. And so we must begin to promote more love in this country. Beginning from primary school, whatever thing that will enable us come together, make it a conscious effort that everywhere we are, that and that was the spirit behind the NYSC. Unfortunately, maybe the first set of people at that time, it worked well, but as time went on, so it is that is the thing we need in this country.
Absolutely.
And if you notice very well in the military, it has worked a little bit well for them. If you have gone to any barracks, you know the level of interaction and mix-up that in that place. And quite frankly, they don't have any problem. During my youth service, I served with the military. I lived in the barracks, and I enjoyed my stay there. Nobody knows whether you are wherever you come from. The man that was taking care of us, a lot of us coppers from the south, the man was from Borno State, a Kanuri man. Making sure that we all was well with us.
We would have to go. We'll have to go. Emeka Odom, the journalist, development, communication experts, and public affairs analyst. Many thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Your insight.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.